your record is released today here.
Yes, that's true. I was noticing that on Spotify. It's like released in several countries, but not in the US. And I'm like, oh, it's not out yet. But for you, it is.
That's correct. We're way ahead of the game here.
I love that. That's for time travel.
Yeah, exactly. And so what do you guys got planned for tomorrow when it's released in Brooklyn? Or I assume you're in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Should I have plans? Should I throw a party or something?
Maybe. I don't know. It used to be a thing.
Yeah, so our release party is like exactly a month after the release. That was sort of how things shook out here in New York with shows.
Right.
But I'm really excited about that one. It's like going to be so much fun.
That's the thing that's happening on July 24th, right?
Correct.
Whereabouts is this happening at?
It's happening at this club called TDI, and that's it's like right on the border between the neighborhoods of Bushwick and Ridgewood, Queens. So I would say it's in Brooklyn. That's what I'm telling people, but technically Queens. And it's Jonathan Tubin's club. Are you familiar with Jonathan Tubin at all?
Jonathan who?
Tubin?
I don't think so. No.
He's like a ripping DJ. He spins like garage rock 45s and like most fun dance parties.
Cool.
Yeah. Really excited.
Sounds like fun. So there's a lot to talk about with this record. So it's called Sight Out of Mind. From what I've been reading and listening, obviously it's kind of psychedelic, and us being the 13th floor, named after the 13th floor elevators, we had to find out what was going on. So, and it was recorded up in your attic. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And there was a group psychedelic trip. There's like a lingering spirit. There's like an exorcism involved. What's going on over there?
It was a convergence of strange happenings around this record. I think you're open to it all, so it kind of all converged on us. Right. So the apartment itself, it's a little haunted. I'll go mildly haunted. There was I remember when I first moved in, I was like, what's that? And right on the doorway there's like a cross made from ash, like it's like thumbprints of ash, because and the landlord told us there had been like an exorcism there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I got hooked on that. And I swear crazy stuff happened during the recording session.
Like what?
There's one track. You can literally hear, there's just this ungodly sounds coming out of the amplifier. I don't know. It's like plasma. It's just like splitting open. So some of the fuzz guitars and stuff, have you ever heard that Captain Beefheart quote about how electric guitars, you kind of have to embrace that you're summoning over a certain type of spirit.
Right.
So I think the electric guitars were really getting that. And maybe technically it's radio waves or something.
Right.
But we're feeling it. And, there would just be like mics. No one remembered moving them, things like that.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, and practically speaking, my roommates below me and stuff would be like, hey, keep it down up there. I'd be like, I'm not home.
Oh boy.
Freaky, right? I love it.
Yep. So there's 7 members to the band, which these days is extremely rare because everybody's doing everything by themselves on their computers and blah, 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 isolation and all that. So how does a band exist with 7 members? How do you guys all get along and agree to do what you got to do?
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Symbiosis, let's say.
Right.
I mean, so I think it's just a matter of putting a positive spin on all of it. So, for example, during this pandemic and stuff, when we were isolated, we would do check-ins almost like weekly, me and the band, and it was like it occurred to us that the band doesn't have to be, this infighting, the Gallagher brothers beating each other up and stuff like that. Like, it can be this support thing where we could talk about all these difficult issues together that are coming up. And I thought that was great. It's like, it was just this support network. So I see it that way. And so we all, with that in mind, in addition to having a lot of fun collaborating on albums, it's just it's worth all the scheduling headaches to me.
Right. Right.
Yeah. You know, we sort of let things take their course. We do a lot of like improvising together and stuff like that. That's how we figure out how to focus our sound and make sure that everybody feels like they get to contribute.
Right. So what was the recording process actually like? Were you all in the same room playing together? Were you kind of bits and pieces? And I mean,
Yeah.
it could be anything. So
I mean, yeah, it was, you could apply a literal meaning to the term, like playing right on top of each other.
okay.
Crammed in this tiny attic, and I swear I just remember having my legs over somebody whose hand was like coming up to control the session. just like, you know, sort of crouched down beneath the console trying to, yeah. So we just kind of did it ourselves, everybody keeping an eye out from their own little cramped space. But yeah, we all sat in there and tracked together. We didn't track, you know, certain things. Some of the guys would be sitting not playing at particular moments, but you know, usually everyone had something to do. But it was 7 of us,
Right.
quite literally on top of one another. Rafferty says it was like a clown car recording session.
Right. So Rafferty is your keyboard player and also your producer. So it's interesting that you managed to all agree that one guy was going to be the producer. How did it manage to get?
Wow, he's just such a wise and calm, organized person.
Right.
It was so natural. He's got an enormous record collection and he's just the guy with the sounds in his head, you know?
Yeah.
And there was no ego from anyone in the band that was like, well, you know, maybe I ought to push more to be more in charge of something. We know he had, like, what he was telling us just clicked, you know, from the beginning, like why he wanted to be at the helm. And damn, I'm so glad we did it, because I'm so proud of what we did with him,
right,
you know, on the board.
And I see you have a couple of videos out that are kind of animated, psychedelic-y little things. There's one for the opening track, Give Me Time. And let's see, the other one is what? Let Go. So who's the brain behind the videos? Is that you guys, or do you have somebody else that does that?
So the Give Me Time video was this, we just hit up a bucket list artist that we've been dying to work with. This guy, L. Ohms, who's from California. He's originally from Tijuana, Mexico.
Give me time for this life of mine, please. I have cried truth and lies to get across this divide. How is it so? Years go fast and minutes go slow. How can it be? No one's come to rescue me.
And we just seen his animation. We all follow him on social media, and we were like obsessing. And then this is one of those things where I don't want to put it's kind of a weird thing to put a positive spin on the pandemic, and I wouldn't. But for us, we saw the time.
Yeah.
We saw that the record was going to be delayed a whole year.
Yep.
And we were like, why not hit up some of our bucket list visual artists and see if any of them want to collaborate? We're super fortunate to get L. Ohms on board, and he just blew our minds with, like, right out the gate with this concept. It's just, I'm so humbled at the concept he gifted us for that video. He's a genius, really.
Cool. Now, this is your second album. The previous one came out in 2017. And I think I read that the band itself you've had some form or fashion for like 10 years. So how has the band changed, evolved, mutated?
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you for not making the Evolfo joke in that.
Oh, that's true. Sorry about that.
No, I'm glad. I had my big laugh prepared and everything. So I started the band in high school.
Right.
I was trying to do, I had like 12 of my friends, and at first it was like a Velvet Underground thing.
Right.
And and then I discovered Parliament Funkadelic, and I was like, we are a funk band. I discovered them for myself, and I was like, funk band now. And then I went to college, and I met most of the folks that you see in the band now. And over the years, we never decided like this is a septet or anything. But it's over time playing shows and trial and error in the studio, it sort of whittled down to this group of 7 folks. And this is, I'd say we really became a band around the first record, when we decided to, put a little more of our time into this group together. So when we made Last of the Acid Cowboys, that was like, oh, we all think this is worth, putting a little extra effort into. And that's when we really congealed into this 7. Yeah, we've been all over. It's been a band in San Francisco. It's been a band in Boston. Now we're in Brooklyn.
Interesting. Now you have a tune called Strange Lights, which is the second track on the album, with a line about being bitten by a policeman. So these days, that can be interpreted all sorts of ways. What's the story behind it?
I was bitten by a policeman, left teeth marks in the back of my hand. I wanna scream, but I can't say nothing, no, I can't say nothing, no, I tell no lies. I was bitten by a policeman, left teeth marks in the back of my hand. I wanna scream, but I can't say nothing, no, I can't say nothing, no, I tell no lies.
Well, I didn't conceive of the lyric in any sort of conscious way. I could definitely say that. I remember the moment I wrote the lyric, I was driving and I pulled out my phone. I had the sort of rhythmic intensity in my head, and that lyric popped out. But I think it would be wrong to say it didn't come from, experience. And I remember that when I was arrested, it felt like teeth marks, and that was sort of where it started. Or if I'm looking for reasons that lyric sort of popped out. So I always hate saying, what our lyrics are exactly about.
Sure.
There's no decoupling it from what it is. And we do, we have our opinion on that topic. I realize it's really sticky, but I'm always happy to talk to people at length about, where we stand.
Right. And where do you stand?
I'd say I'd say we stand on the, I think it's time to rethink how we do police. I think I'm a bit further left of reform, closer to the defund the police school of thought.
Right.
It's, it's a conversation I feel like that I'm happy to have with people. It takes a while sometimes, but yeah. I think
you mentioned that you guys have kind of moved around from San Francisco to New York and whatever. New York is kind of a different, I've been to New York many times. It's all a whole new place other than the rest of the states. So maybe things are different there than in the rest of the country. Have you connected with much around the rest of the country, getting a kind of feedback about things like that, the police situation?
Not so much. I always want to hear people out, I realize not every community is exactly like the one that I'm currently living in.
Right.
I think in New York I got really involved with the protests last spring and all of that stuff. And that's where I started to form an opinion, more tried to inform myself more. And I do worry that I'll say this, that I don't necessarily believe that defunding the police works with the way everything works right now in the United States of America. You'll hear people say that a lot, that under capitalism, you're always going to have police.
Yep.
And that to me is that rings true, And then from there I get a little overwhelmed trying to form my opinion, because while I believe our world is doomed if we keep going down this freaking rabbit hole we started. If we keep buying capitalism wholesale, we don't have ourselves a world for too much longer. So I'm pretty on board with trying something new myself.
Very good. All right, getting back to music now. you have a tune called, let's see, Drying Out Your Eyes, which to me sounded like you may have been listening to a bit of Can at the time. And then that's followed by In Time, part 1 and 2, which is definitely got some Pink Floyd stuff going on in there. What drew you to those sounds and the rest of the band? And do you have, do you guys talk about that stuff and go, oh, this sounds too much like Pink Floyd, or we need some krautrock here? I mean, how does the process work?
I think it starts with obsession,
Right,
with,
okay.
I'm curious what your opinion is. Do you think that every band, every musician eventually goes through a Can phase?
I think so. It seems that way. Yeah, it's just inevitable.
It was actually Noi that really inspired that Drying Out Your Eyes kind of feel, and
right.
then you bring it to the band, or for us, I bring it to the band, and then it becomes something entirely new, because they're not all listening to that's funny, they're not all listening to Noi themselves. All they hear is what I'm bringing them based on my passion at the time with krautrock.
Yeah,
it all kind of get into Can at the same time, because we see how that sort of fierce improvisation is, that appeals to us a lot as like a group, and sort of the just trying to improvise in a way that's compelling, exciting for us and exciting for an audience. That's not exactly, we absolutely love jazz, but we don't want to do it. We don't want to do improv like in the sense of the jazz school around changes and stuff. We're really interested in this pulsing, like sort of drowning meditative thing. So
yeah. I mean, what's his name? Jackie from Can was. I mean, that beat is just like, it's everywhere now. He lives on forever.
It's like that to me. I'm still at the point I can't stop listening to Tago Mago. Like I'm
right.
I'm like 2 years deep, and I'm trying to get myself out of the phase. No, I should just buy it. I shouldn't resist. And yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we don't consult too. We try not to make too many rules around, like,
right.
If it's directly sounds like Pink Floyd or something, where we'll be like, it's too much. Clearly, we're just trying to cop that sound, and we should back up a little bit. But hardly ever. We try to let things take their course, because inevitably, when you work honestly, and I think you trust your ear, you're going to end up in a place where, even if it did start influenced by someone like Can or Pink Floyd, you're going to be in your own zone if you're doing it. I think you're doing it honestly.
Yeah. So you got this show coming up on the 24th. When you guys do play, when was the last time you did a gig?
The last time we did a gig, we did kind of go do, we did a festival like early on in the reopening process here,
right?
But it was a big outdoor thing. We had a blast though. So I will say that, but the last like proper Evolfo gig and hometown New York gig was at the Sultan Room in February 2020.
Right. Yeah.
And
so just before everything went down the toilet.
We're dying to get back. I am, I just, I gotta feed that. There's some like a creature inside of me that feeds on that.
Very cool. So what is a gig like when you guys do play? Do the songs change much? Do you guys stretch out a bit? What happens?
Oh yeah, we like.
Oh yeah, I got that feeling.
Yeah, it was Can's fault, I would say.
Of course.
If you liked Evolfo when every song was like 3-4 minutes, then you blame Can.
All right.
Yeah, we stretch things a lot now. and we definitely like to separate. You can't compartmentalize things perfectly, but I
Right.
think in trying to achieve the feeling of the record, we end up with a lot of interesting patterns for the live show. You know, a lot of interesting stuff. So we work hard to achieve the recorded sound, and then in failing, we come up with some stuff that sounds awesome live. Because really, they're two separate tracks. They're so different.
Right.
You know.
Yep. And do you feel like you're part of a scene, a new psychedelic scene? Are there other bands that you guys kind of relate to, commiserate with? That kind of
Yes.
thing?
Yeah.
Like,
I love I love the music lifestyle, and I love how badly people want it out here in New York. And we meet so many supportive people, and we collaborate with so many great people. What we're interested in doing is expanding the interpretation of psych a little bit, you know,
right.
rather than guitars and phasers and drums and you know, tie-dye and flowers and
Right.
bell bottoms. Like, we love all that stuff, but we see no reason why, like, to us, psychedelic should be an invitation to go like beyond the limit, because that's what it's all about, is like mind expanding, right?
Right. All right. And that leads me to a question about the group psychedelic trip that you guys took. Is that what we're referring to here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. Yeah, I think that treating the music in with the same open-minded commitment that you do a psychedelic trip is a really good thing. They're also music and improvisational music and shows and like high volume, so like literally high volume, like loud stuff is like another path to that space, that kind of timeless psychedelic space where you get some perspective on reality.
Cool. Excellent. Well, that all makes sense. Perfect sense. And
Yeah.
We got the record out here right now in New Zealand. You should come down and play it for us when you get a chance, you know, when everything opens up.
I've been. I love New Zealand. I went once. It was cool.
Have you been here once?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. When was that?
I was a kid. It was, God, I must have been 12, I think. And I was like really serious about ski racing, actually. We went to Mount Pot and or Mount Hut. Is it Mount Pot or Mount Hut? They're both there, right? Like
there's Lower Hut. There's Mount Ruapehu.
We're in the part where there's like a range of mountains rather than, we're on the island where there's a range rather than a single.
Probably on the South Island then. Yeah.
Yeah. And
the Southern Alps.
What a beautiful place. Insanely beautiful. And yeah, I love it. I got to know more about the psych scene though there in New Zealand though.
Well, the band that comes to mind immediately is Unknown Mortal Orchestra, which kind of have that kind of thing going on, but they're kind of based in Seattle now, but the main guy is from here.
We love Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize he was from, I guess I did kind of know he was from New Zealand. He's got an accent and stuff, I think.
He does have an accent, yes. Yeah. Unlike you and me.
I actually saw him. I saw him on Twitter earlier today, and I thought he was tweeting some interesting stuff.
But anyway, yeah, come on down. We'd love to have you. Congratulations on the record. We're happy to be the first to be able to listen to it on our Spotify, if that's what we have to do. Is it coming out on vinyl?
It is. Yeah, I have a copy right next to me. So
let's see it. That's a beautiful thing. Yep. And the cover is done by a guy named Robert Beatty. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. The Wikipedia, I think I've been pronouncing his name wrong. Wikipedia corrected me. I hope Wikipedia says it's Robert Beatty. And
okay.
If he's listening, I'm sorry, Robert. I hope I've been saying it right all along. I don't know, but he's amazing. He's so great. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it with this cover. It just feels like the music to me.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I'll let you get on with your day, and hope we'll see you sometime soon.
I really appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.